You probably know that you can adjust where your melee weapons on your character, but do you do it? If you want to reach the true end game of Warframe, which is fashion, it's about time you learn the ropes. And today I'm going to teach you a little bit about modding where your melee weapon is on your Warframe instead of the actual mods. So most people have it hidden. You see, I don't have it exposed right now. Now we're going to unhide it. Most people have it hidden because it looks all wonky like that. But I reckon that we can make it looking all right. So I tell you what, look at it on this all wonky, and now we're going to put it on a fashioned out frame. Here's it on my Cybernitus, which there's a video on my channel about. But you can see it looks like it's part of the Nidus experience being fashioned onto him instead of just being thrown on him willy-nilly. Now here is the same weapon, but fashioned onto my Cyber Dragon. As you can see, it looks like a dragon tail that you can rip off and kill people with. Very fun, if I tell you what. Additionally, here's the same weapon on Limbo. I think it looks best on him because it's that dangle bit up top above his head, so it looks like he's got a lot of dangly bits. It really fits his fashion. You would never know that that is a melee weapon until I ripped it off and killed you with it, right? So you can do a lot with your melee. You can do simple, subtle stuff like what I have on this harrow here. You see how this blade is off to the side? That's not normally how the blade is. That's simple, subtle. It looks really nice, right? But normally the blade looks like this. Normally it's just flat on your butt, and that's how a lot of the weapons are. So adjusting your melee weapons positioning can go a long way in making your character look a lot cooler. So here's Excalibur. As you can see, there's a blade in the center here, and then a blade off to the side here. Those are both have to be fashioned individually, but if you're unsure of where to put your weapon, but you still want to show it off for the fashion, just slap it in the middle of your back. Slap it right on the middle of your back. Usually a go-to, can't go wrong with that. And we're going to learn a little bit about actually lining stuff up on your back because it's a little complicated. But also, you don't think you have to slap everything on your back. Here's a gun blade coming off the side of my frame here. It's very feng shui because all the weapons are pointing out in like a similar face. So don't think that everything has to be put together the same way either, like straight on the back like what I've been showing you. Here is my proto-glaive. As you can see, it's got cool blood on the tips of it. But here is it holstered. You can barely see it, but you see these little tentacles here? These tiny little glowing bits are from the glaive. So it's a real tiny accentuation on the back of my frame that most won't notice, but you will know when someone notices because you'll see like an MR30 or a Legend Rank person sending you unprovoked a message that says like mid or I've seen better. They'll send you something like that, and that's when you know you've hit the big time and you're a pro fashion player. And here's a mag. Here are the Blades of Osiris. As you can see, it gives it like a wing look. So you see the glowing bits, the energy coming off these blades? That acts as kind of like wings. So you can really do a lot with a little. This is free-to-play type stuff, right? Just adjusting where it is on your frame. You can even, here's another idea for frames like Caliban. I have the sword right here where my cursor is. That's the sword coming out of him. It's this like this turns into like a suitcase and goes in his crack, which is sounds a lot worse than it did in my head, I guess. But we're gonna look at kind of like the live demonstration, and then this is like a very big tip, I would say, for actually placing it. So here's the Amphis kind of centered on my back. So here's kind of how you want to place stuff. You want to decide like which holster you like. A lot of them have multiple different spots. Like, do you want it straight up and down? Do you want it horizontal, vertical? What do you want it? Do you want it flat, left and right? So you got to choose what you kind of want in your head, and then how I do it is these top settings are macro, these bottom settings are micro. So you kind of adjust the macro a bit, then the micro, then back to the macro, then the micro. So you kind of got to go these top three and then to the bottom, and then you'll probably have to go back and then back. So it's kind of a back and forth process, and on top of that, on top of the back and forth process, sometimes it looks perfectly centered in this menu here, but then when you get out to the like basic I'm playing menu, it does not look center. So I would advise you do back out of the appearance and then check it before you're like, all right, it's done, it's final. That way there's no like, I got to go back into it and it's bothering you in the middle of a mission. Additionally, here's a little bug that can affect your time and your experience doing this. So you see how these levels or this meter has a cap to it. There's these lines. pay attention to that line. I'm going to click this plus arrow here. You're going to see this little arrow light up when I click it. I'm clicking it. Look at that. It's going to the left. I'm clicking this right arrow and it's going to the left. For some reason, this right side of the whole row here, at least on PS5, PS4, and Xbox, when you click it just a little bit, it usually goes to the left a little bit. It's very common for it to go to the left even though it's to the right. So a lot of times you'll be pushing this like for a very micro adjustment, you're just barely tapping it like I am now, and you see it going to the left and you think, oh, so I just need to push this side a little bit more, and then boom, it keeps going the same way. And this left side does not seem stuck at all. This left side seems like it will always be fine, it'll always work as intended, but this right side, at least on PlayStation and Xbox, you got to plan on hitting it like 5 or 6 times to do it just a tiny bit, because it goes left first and then it slowly will go over. I don't know why it does it. Don't ask me, I'm not a doctor. I just pretend to be one sometimes. So that's really the long and short of it. The takeaways are to adjust your melee weapon so that it's part of the experience instead of just haphazardly thrown on, and to additionally take advantage of that tip where you gotta tap the right side a little bit before it'll actually start moving, so it'll make your life a little bit easier, and back in and out of the menus so that you can make sure it's perfectly aligned onto your back or whatnot. So that's the long and short of this pro fashion tip today. If you found it useful, if you found like you learned something, if you found like you got really mad and you didn't learn anything at all because you already knew all this, then the only way for you to forward this information to me is if you go out to your car and check the air pressure of your tires. The seasons are changing. You may need to fill it up, you may not. And the only way to let me know how you felt about this video is to go and check that post haste. Bye.